What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video, and today we are taking a look at the French horn, which is the next in the orchestral lineup. We talked about the trumpet last week, so now we're taking a look at the French horn, and we'll go over a bit of an overview and also how I like to use the French horn in my own music. So before we do that, I want to give you my 10 steps to a clear orchestral guide, clear orchestral sound free guide. Basically, it takes you through some essential orchestration concepts that you do need to know in order to make sure that your mockups are solid and sounding great. It includes things like mixing and balancing, also understanding timbres and the way to arrange things. It's all condensed into one easy to read guide. So if you want to check that out, click the link in the description below. It'll take you straight there and you can download it for free right away. Let's talk about the French horn really quickly here. So the practical range here is from F1 to F4. So it has a few octaves range, you can see it's quite large, but the ideal range is between C2 and C4. So kind of a 2-octave range. And it's the most agile and has the best resonant projecting sound in that register. So while there's a wide note range, it's kind of difficult to play large leaps just due to the construction of the instrument, the way the intervals are kind of created within the valves. It's more difficult to play larger leaps, so you want to keep it relatively close if possible. The French horns were used in pairs in Baroque and classical periods, and there were 2 to 4 in the Romantic era and even more in the 20th century, up to 12. If you're familiar with Talos and I think it's Cinebrass Pro. I think they both have 12 horn ensemble patches, and it's a massive sound. So you really get a sense of what the French horns sound like when they're playing as a huge section together. And of course, you could have even more. You could even layer in additional French horns after that. But I think the most popular large setup is 12. And this is a conical bore instrument, meaning that the instrument actually changes diameter throughout its length. So it starts small and then it widens until the bell starts, which kind of results in a smoother, rounder, warmer sound as contrasted with the trumpet or the trombone. So what are the pros and cons to using the French horn? Number one, it's ideal for pads and sustained chords due to its warm nature, as we talked about before. It's also used frequently as a solo lead instrument or as a section for a more powerful sound. You'll hear this in pretty much every single film score, especially listen to Hans Zimmer music. There's a lot of big brassy French horn sections. You'll hear them all over the place. There's also a really good layering ability, and so I just said a crazy number, but you can have up to 15 French horns and still retain a full and warm sound, and it's a very powerful signal, and it just comes through really beautifully. Now, you might argue that it's been overused, but the sound has been very popular for a reason, and that's why we use the French horns, because it has the ability to be warm, but it can also be brassy at the same time when the players are really giving it their all, which is nice. So what are my favorite ways to use the French horn? Number one, to feature lead melodies in a very smooth and natural way. Number two, I really like to incorporate a little bit of vibrato into the performances because I think it adds character and passion. Whereas if you just have a static note without any vibrato, then it almost feels like it's just holding, a note for a sustained purpose. There's really no passion and emotion in a performance without a little bit of vibrato and rubato in there. And also as a section, playing warm chords to add depth to an existing arrangement. I like to do that a lot. Usually in my mockups, I'll have, the basic sections, but the French horns, I'll usually use a 2 horns patch from Cinebrass, use the polyphonic legato, and then play 2 notes at once to really outline the harmonic bed behind everything else. And that usually adds a bit of warmth and texture to the arrangement, which I really like. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how I like to use the French horn, some things you can consider when using the instrument, and of course listen to performances with French horns, hear how they interact with the strings and all of that. Very, very important to kind of get your ears accustomed to that sound. In any case, if you're interested in taking your mockups to the next level though, I want to give you again that 10 steps to a clear orchestral guide. Clear orchestral sound. Why do I keep saying that? Clear orchestral sound guide. Again, it's totally free, and it goes over some core essential tips you need to know in order to take your mockups from good to great. And it was actually the very first guide I put together, and it's been one of my most popular ones to date because people have been finding it super helpful, thankfully. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in tomorrow's video, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.